ho, climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, climate criminals, they must go.
Good morning.
1, 2,
Here we are
3, 4,
at the Crowne Plaza, Adelaide.
5, 6, 7,
We're here to attend the Beach Energy Annual General Meeting.
Climate criminals at the door. 5, 6.
Beach Energy have not invited us to attend, but because we care about South Australia, because we care about the planet, because we care about the climate, we're here to mark the occasion.
1, 2, 3, 4. Climate criminals.
Welcome to Rosie, welcome to Pam.
6, 7, 8. Get the hell out of our state. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Beach Energy has been in South Australia for a long time, and we're pleased that the tide is turning against old style fossil fuels and towards renewable energy. It's good to be here representing Extinction Rebellion. We're keeping our spirits up on this relatively cold morning. Our flags are waving, and our team is inside visiting the annual general meeting.
In the ground. Keep it in the ground. Keep it in the ground.
I'm going to walk through the group of people. As usual, our traffic marshals are here, making sure that pedestrians have free access and that nobody is disturbed in any way as far as walking through the area goes.
Keep gas in the ground. Keep gas in the ground.
You can see here the entrance to the Crowne Plaza Hotel, where Beach Energy investors will be going in. We're asking them to divest from Beach Energy and from all fossil fuel companies. And in fact, it would be a wise move for an investor to divest, because these assets will quite soon become stranded. Beach Energy is one of the major investors itself in South Australian traditional energy. They have more than a third, approximately a third share of investments in Santos, particularly in the Moomba operation at Santos, where they're attempting to implement carbon capture and storage. Carbon capture and storage is an interesting technology. Oh, welcome, Kathy. I hope you're enjoying the show. Yes. Carbon, of course, is present in carbon dioxide and is released when fossil fuels are mined, particularly oil. And in fact, this technology was invented originally to squeeze the last bits out of oil extraction. And now, gas and oil companies are attempting to use carbon capture and storage to show that they can save the carbon from entering the atmosphere. The sad fact is, first of all, that this doesn't deal at all with the Scope 3 emissions, the emissions of carbon dioxide that happen when you burn oil and gas. Bit of a major drawback, since these are the major emissions. However, the other very sad fact is that carbon capture and storage doesn't deal with things properly because it's largely a failed technology. A recent report on the Gorgon project in Western Australia shows that not only was it costing a mozza, but that it's completely failed in its aims. A very sad fact if we were relying on it. However, in South Australia we're not relying on this technology. Despite government support for beach energy, Santos and many other companies, renewables in South Australia are steaming ahead, and you'll be pleased to know that several days over the last month, South Australia produced more than 100% of its electricity needs from renewable energy. What a bonus that was. In fact, we're now exporting electricity from renewables to both Victoria and New South Wales. Well, shortly to New South Wales. The interconnector there is just being complete. So we're very pleased that this is happening, showing that renewable energy and combined with batteries will produce reliable, clean, truly clean energy for the future. Members of the South Australian Police Force are now attending here. Graham, welcome. People to attend the AGM at 10 o'clock in the morning, and our friends at Market Forces will also be attending. Market Forces is the organisation that campaigns against investment in fossil fuels. The sad thing is that people are still coming to invest in these companies. It is a tragedy for them as well, because they're investing. CEOs just arrived. I've just been informed that the Chief Executive Officer of Beach Energy has just arrived. We're making it clear that they are not welcome.
Climate criminals!
Go for it. Welcome, Jordan. Annual general meeting. We hope they consider carefully the future of their company. Welcome.
Criminals, we will stop you. Criminals.
Hey. You've got a dog visiting with a friendly dog owner. Our drummer team are enjoying themselves as they often do.
the last 3 days because of the wind and the hating.
Hi, Braz. This action is part of our End Fossil Fuels Now campaign, our EFN campaign, which started about a month ago when we blockaded the Asia Pacific Oil and Gas Conference at the Adelaide Convention Centre. Tragic that South Australia decided to host this conference. The list goes on. Oh, here are some more lovely people coming to attend the annual general meeting.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got
Coming
to
to
go.
the AGM.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go.
Good to see lots of school students passing by, enjoying the songs and supporting the action. Their future is most on the line.
No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil,
An investor
in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil, keep the carbon in the soil. Decarbonise, CCS is a panel rise. Decarbonise, CCS is a panel rise. Decarbonise, CCS is a panel rise. Decarbonise, CCS is a panel rise.
police liaison people here chatting with the police, and our inside team who visited the annual general meeting.
CCS is a panel rise. Decarbonise, CCS is a panel rise. Decarbonise, CCS is a panel rise.
And here, our inside team exiting the annual general meeting.
Decarbonise, science cannot compromise. Decarbonise, science cannot
As the
compromise.
investors gather, hopefully not too upset by these stranded assets, and hopefully wondering how they can reinvest in a wiser way. Our police officers resuming our live stream outside the Beach Energy Annual General Meeting, which is just starting now. See our lovely End Fossil Fuels Now banner, as this demonstration is part of our long-term End Fossil Fuels Now campaign. We started by blockading the Asia Pacific Oil and Gas Conference, and we're continuing with a range of actions. This is the second one, and we will continue with the major part, what we call Wave 2, where we will be protesting the Santos sponsorship of the tour down under. It's very like, you may recall, when tobacco sponsorship was considered to be a good part of sport. Not anymore. And the same is going to happen as people realise the serious impacts of climate change on their health and indeed their lives. That's happening already in the floods in the eastern states. But we are a wealthy country. The floods in Pakistan have been devastating. Welcome to Susan. Our lovely police officers are here visiting us. And our team of rebels who invaded the AGM have now come out of the building. Our drumming team is active, and we're hoping that our friends in market forces are inside the AGM asking pertinent questions. If I was an investor in beach energy, I would be asking about the long-term viability of my precious investment. Perhaps has left the annual general meeting, possibly disgusted by the inability of the company to move with the times. Welcome to Drew, welcome to David. And another investor has left, possibly in disgust. The history of energy. They own a 33% stake in carbon capture and storage operation at Moomba. Moomba, of course, is the major gas field owned by Santos. It pipes the mixture of oil and gas to Port Bonifant near Whyalla. These antique means of producing energy are now on the way out. You will have seen that the board of AGM has been taken over by people who are more in support of renewables. A major battery is being built at Blythe to complement the other major South Australian battery at Hornsdale. We're well on the road to renewables. These companies like Beach Energy are dying hard. A little advert advert against some kind of pollution, reminding us that the tobacco industry used to be a major sponsor, but no longer. And we're hoping that sports activities like the Tour Down Under will also be dumped, in the sense that their sponsors will be dumped. Thanks for cheers from supporters watching. Thank you, David. We're hoping that the attendees at the annual general meeting are starting to realise that their assets are stranded, that the support they're providing to this antique technology will not rescue it from the future, which is rushing towards us.
Kick those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Kick those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Kick those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Kick those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Kick those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town.
In a moment I'm going to start.
I thought you would.
Keep those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town. Get up,
We have some workers here working on the electricity system. A reminder that South Australia leads the world in renewable energy. Very grateful for that.
those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town. Get up, get down. Keep those wires out of town.
Good morning. We are Extinction Rebellion. We have 3 demands. Tell the truth based on the science about the climate crisis facing the world now.
Welcome, Richard.
Act on the science to limit global warming to as low as we can get. We're already at 1.2, where everyone is doing everything they can except the fossil fuel industry and their friends to limit global warming to 1.5. We are dangerously close, and every point of a degree counts. We're here today outside the Crowne Plaza Hotel in Adelaide because Beach Energy is holding its annual general meeting on the 2nd floor, and I kid you not, they are meeting in the visionary room. Sovereignty was never ceded, and we pay our respects to Ghana elders past, present and emerging, and we honour their custodianship of this place. First Nations people in Australia, in the Torres Strait Islander and elsewhere, most likely to have their culture and their lifestyles and their traditions and their custodianship rendered almost extinct, if not extinct, by the fossil fuel industry. Beach Energy started in South Australia in 1961, and Reg Sprigg, a geologist the so-called founder of the South Australian fossil fuel industry, over his lifetime became a passionate conservationist. And an old family friend of the Sprigg family told me that he would be horrified, absolutely horrified. He would turn in his grave to know that beach energy was not turning away from oil and gas. I doubt the people up in the level 2 visionary room even know the history, even know about him. What do beach do and where do they do it? They do oil and gas exploration and production in 5 basins, onshore and offshore in Australia and New Zealand, and here in South Australia, major exploration and drilling in the Cooper Basin and in the Otway Basin that extends into Victoria. They are Australia's largest onshore oil producer out of the Cooper Basin. They are a gas supplier to the East Coast, to both industry and gas retailers, and they have plans from 2023-24 to export gas overseas. Shame on beach! And at a time when the science is saying no new gas, no new oil, rapid transition to renewables that South Australia and Australia are so richly endowed with, Beach is, and I quote their annual report, investing heavily in accelerating gas.
Hi, Gillian.
And as if all of that wasn't bad enough, I think of them as Santos's little brother. They have a 33% stake in the Santos carbon capture and storage in the Moomba area, otherwise known as complete crock of shit. The mining industry would have you believe that they are major employers, but this Beach Energy has a total of 537 employees, some of whom are inside there. And although they have many more contractors, that is still very small bickies in employment stakes. And if you look through their annual report, you see lots of photographs of women in high-vis doing all sorts of interesting things. But the truth is that the ratio of men to women in the Beach Energy company is 80% men, 20% women, which is pretty much reflected on their board and even worse among their executive. So it's very much a boys' show. They declared a profit this year of $535 million, almost $1 million per employee, but their actual revenue from oil and gas is an eye-watering $1.749 million. Huge amount of money. And their largest shareholder, 30% shareholding of Beach Energy, is the Seven Group Holdings. So Channel 7 and the media associated with Channel 7 and Kerry Stokes, who is in fact an alternate non-executive director on the board. So it's no wonder that Channel 7 has trouble reporting the truth about the dying days of the fossil fuel industry. And what does Beach say in its annual report, its performance report, and its sustainability report, all of which I read in preparing for today? They say that they will aim to make a 35% decrease in their emissions by 2030 compared to their 2018 levels. In other words, a pittance. They say that they will be at net zero with the emissions that come from the office and the actual mining sites, but they remain completely silent about the worst emissions of all, the Scope 3 emissions that come from the use of their filthy products in Australia, New Zealand and elsewhere. And they tantamount to admit that the reason they're interested in carbon capture and storage is because it enables them to use their depleted oil and gas reservoirs and pipelines for storage of carbon emissions, not because they think it's a good idea. And they describe the Moomba carbon capture and storage in relation to their emissions reduction targets, wait for it, the jewel in Beach's emissions reduction crown. It's a fake crown and these are fake and dirty jewels. Yeah. They say, in logic that just defies any analysis, that they are committed to managing their climate risk and delivering a sustainable business model in a low carbon world. What garbage. And later in the report they claim that they are setting the foundations for this sustainable growth by growing gas investment, gas supplies and markets for the next 15 years. Now, I'm not great at maths, but 2030 is in 8 years and they're still planning to grow gas. They continue to believe in unicorns and in the idea that the world doesn't have enough energy and gas is almost a charitable gesture to the world's lack of energy and remains, I quote, remains the key to power Australia's energy transition. Untrue. Big fossil fuel lies. And right down the back of the report in very fine print, I had to read this several times to believe what I was reading. Listen to this. Gas-fired emissions will need to be offset elsewhere in the economy to reach net zero emissions. So they don't have to do it, someone else has to do it. And gas will be replaced by net zero carbon fuels, green hydrogen or biogas. They know, and they are still drilling, producing, selling and exporting. Shame on them. Shame. Let's have a little time to think about who some of those people in the visionary room are. Up there, there'll be a number, if not all, of the beach executives and the beach board. And one of the things that I'm becoming familiar with as I read these fossil fuel industry reports, and beach is no different, is that the majority, if not all, of the executives and board members are recycled and entrenched fossil fuel industry professionals. They are the equivalent of incest. They have double-digit years in the gas and oil sector. And on Beach's board and executive alone, they have track records with these fossil fuel criminals: BP, Exxon, Esso, Mobil, Woodside, Oil Search and Santos. And many of them are adding carbon capture and storage experience or knowledge to their toxic portfolios. And worse, much worse, they are actually addicted to gas and oil because they're paid from gas and oil revenue and many of them are paid in Beach shares. So they've got a conflict of interest. I don't know how they do effective risk management on that board when the very thing that is placing everyone at risk is the thing that's paying their bills. It's insane. What do other people who know about the science and the truth say about all of this? There are many authoritative, publicly available critiques of this insanity and these lies. We had the International Panel on Climate Change report in March of this year saying, bottom line, no new gas or oil if we're to have any hope of 1.5 degrees C limit to global warming. In Australia, the Investor Group on Climate Change, in their report in April of this year, A Changing Climate for Australian Gas under a 1.5C scenario, analysed new Australian gas projects for investors, big investors, the biggest investors in the country, like superannuation funds and some of the banks and other schemes. And they said, and I quote, the role of gas in transition to net zero emissions by 2050 is highly uncertain and controversial. Gas is facing big losses in 1.5C aligned scenarios with the accelerated uptake of renewables with storage. Australian fossil gas, often called LNG, but fossil gas is increasingly uneconomical. Fossil fuel companies are losing their social licence to operate. Yippee! Woo! They are losing approvals and support for new gas projects from insurers, from funders, and hopefully at some point in this country's history, our own governments, and they are facing increasing stranded assets right now. It's already happening and they're still perpetuating their business as usual. The Australasian Centre for Corporate Responsibility issued a media release on the 28th of October, a few days ago, saying, categorically citing the International Energy Agency statement that for Paris-aligned net zero emissions scenarios, that's 1.5C max, no new conventional oil and gas projects are needed, and any new fossil fuel project is at odds with the Paris Agreement. That means don't do it at all, not at all. And what's Beach doing? Accelerating gas. Unbelievable. They've got more degrees than most of us have had breakfasts, and they still don't get it. You've got to think they are willfully determined to be either incompetent or recklessly indifferent to the impact on the planet and the lives of all of us and our children and their grandchildren and beyond. Climate Analytics, in their report in June of this year, Fossil Fuels, A Bridge to Nowhere, said we must phase out gas to limit global warming to 1.5. Not reduce, must phase it out. Climate 100 Plus analysis, an international independent assessment of the worst 100 fossil fuel companies internationally, finds that the majority of fossil fuel companies, and by majority I mean like 70 and 75% of them, provide little detail about how they'll lower their emissions. They lack ambition with their emissions reduction targets. They lack credible and interim targets, and nothing they've published aligns with 1.5. They are all misaligned with 1.5, and that's exactly what I found in reading the Beach annual report and performance statement. Today, we think there are some shareholders participating in that AGM who are raising questions about this direction that Beach is taking, and there may even be an attempt at a shareholder resolution to try and turn this gas and oil juggernaut around, to use their intelligence and their resources for a renewables future fast. They could do it, they just decide they don't want to because they're too addicted to gas. So we are not prepared to be bystanders while Beach and their friends and advocates and their other profiteers trash our future and the future of our planet and our children and their children and First Nations cultures and peoples all over this world. We will continue to turn up and stare them in the eye and say, no new gas, no new oil, no carbon capture and storage. Join us. No new gas, no new oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil.
Welcome, Kirby. Welcome, Jamil.
In the soil, no more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil. No more gas, no more oil. Keep that carbon in the soil.
Welcome, Des.
Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Gas and criminals, they must go. Hey, ho, ho! Climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate criminals, they must go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Climate criminals, they must go.
Welcome, Des. Welcome, Richard.
Climate criminals, they must go.
Here we are outside the Big Energy Annual General Meeting, which is now in progress. We hope you're having a lovely time in the so-called visionary room here at the Crowne Plaza Hotel. That gave us a fair bit of amusement, but that was the place chosen for their meeting. We hope that our friends in market forces are present, and we certainly recommend that you go onto the market forces website and see if there are ways that you can take financial and investment decisions that oppose fossil fuels. You would think that assets owned by these companies would now be declared as well and truly stranded, but they're benefiting so much from the tax advantages given to them by the federal and state governments around this country, that they can still continue to operate with massive profits. Of course, one of their techniques is to sell their products into places that oceans capture carbon at source, where gas and oil are failing around the world, and not only failing to do the things that they're planning to do, but they're costing amazing amounts of revenue to do this ineffective process. What they're not saying is that carbon capture and storage doesn't deal with Scope 3 emissions. It doesn't manage in any way the carbon dioxide and methane that are emitted when gas and oil are burnt. So they're selling to other nations the source of their own destruction. More than tragic. Beach energy was founded, or largely founded, by a famous South Australian geologist. And in fact, there have been many famous South Australian geologists. Reg Sprigg was one of them. And he pioneered research into oil and gas reserves, but also into fossils. He became, in his lifetime, an ardent conservationist. He realised that the natural wonders of South Australia, in the place that he loved the most, the Flinders Ranges, were under threat. And many fossils have actually been named after him. For example, a species of trilobite. I have an example of this at home actually. It's really, they're quite, it was given to me by a researcher at the museum. Because they are actually quite common.
You bet. And when it does, you'll be glad.
And some of the oldest fossils in the world are present in South Australian strata of rocks. Reg Sprigg did pioneer this research, and he was very inventive in finding resources like oil and gas. But now, if he was looking at this, because he was such an inventive person, I reckon that Reg would be sad to see that inventiveness and entrepreneuriality that he had have been taken away.
Into the atmosphere at an unprecedented pace and scale. We are already in trouble. The stability we all depend on is breaking. This story is one of inequality.
We've invited Sir David Attenborough to speak
Today, those who
at
have
our
done
event
the
today.
least to cause this problem are being the hardest hit. Ultimately, all of us will feel the impact, some of which are now unavoidable. Is this how our story is due to end? A tale of the smartest species doomed by that all-too-human characteristic of failing to see the bigger picture in pursuit of short-term goals. The emergency climate comes down to a single number: the concentration of carbon in our atmosphere. The people alive now, or the generation to come, will look at this conference and consider one thing: did that number stop rising and start to drop as a result of commitments made here? That desperate hope is why the world is looking to you, and why you are here. Our burning of fossil fuels, our destruction of
Welcome to Kath, welcome Lena. The music playing now is by our Extinction Rebellion musician member, Dave. His beautiful album Ochre reflects some of the joy of living, but also some of the sadness that comes as we contemplate the destruction that is starting to happen all around us. further on this. And we hope that our supporters around the world, working in so many ways to combat these occurrences, will be successful. If that doesn't happen, we will be in a state of extreme difficulty. We hope that science will prevail, that the scientists of the world, with their wisdom and their experience in measuring risk, in weighing the consequences of what has happened in the past, and thinking very carefully about their observations, will help us to park the ambulance, as it were, at the top of the cliff instead of at the bottom. Already, not just symbolic ambulances, but real ambulances have been working over time around the world. The people of Pakistan, suffering from their tragic floods, are just one example of people who haven't been able to combat the tragic outcomes of glaciers melting to the north of their country, flooding their rivers. The people of Lismore know this well. The TAFE College at Lismore has been flooded 3 times in such a major way that it may not be able to restore that building. That's just one small example of the way our communities will be eroded if these impacts are not taken seriously. If the true innovation that started up companies like Beach Energy was repeated, if true innovation and true entrepreneurship took hold, let alone true compassion, then people would have more hope. We would be able to see our wealthy country assist struggling places like Pakistan, like the Pacific Islands, places that do not even have the benefits of modern technology and yet are suffering most from the so-called innovations that we have implemented. Hoping that the people in the Beach Energy Annual General Meeting will see sense, will start to wonder about the future of their investments, even if they only do that from the point of view of their own financial safety. Inside the Crowne Plaza Hotel, the Annual General Meeting is proceeding. This is the season of annual general meetings for many companies, and it's a time when we watch carefully the annual reports of these fossil fuel companies and look for inconsistencies in what they are saying. These inconsistencies are not too hard to find. It makes interesting reading when they claim that they can remediate the serious impacts of what they are doing. Our drumming team is taking a short break, but we hope for a little bit more rhythm and excitement. And we're waiting for news of what is happening inside the meeting. It's interesting to know that the connections between the fossil fuel companies in South Australia and across Australia are very close. Of course, that's not unusual. They share technologies, they share expertise.
We shall not be moved. We shall.
Another 20 minutes.
Standing by the water. We shall not be moved.
The sun has come out as a reminder of one of the most abundant energy resources that we have. Of course, more energy on this blue planet does come from the sun.
Standing by the water.
And beach energy is a great reminder of that. It's a bit sad, given that they're partly an oil exploration company, that they've called their company Beach Energy. People originally became aware of the difficulties of fossil fuels back in the 60s and 70s, when there were a number of oil tanker groundings that resulted in huge oil spills. Of course, that has continued. You'll remember the big oil spill near Florida. In fact, it was an oil escape from a well, an undersea well. Of course, all big engineering events have their difficulties, and our technology, our big projects often have problems. That alone isn't a way of saying that we should stop large projects, but we do need to operate in a way that considers the longer term consequences of what we do. All of this wasn't known. When people started mining coal, people didn't understand what was going on. When people started drilling for oil, there wasn't knowledge that this was a problem. We're getting some great support with some passers-by. Thank you. People are understanding that renewable energy is the way to go, and that fossil fuel is not. Thank you for your support.
Science is so very clear. this our future does depend. End fossil fuels now. 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 End fossil fuels now.
Another lovely chant from Anna and the Samba Band. As we continue our picket outside the Beach Energy Annual General Meeting, we think we're having a much more entertaining time than they are inside the meeting, but maybe money talks. Certainly, Beach Energy and other fossil fuel companies, Santos, Woodside, Chevron, get a good free ride in the places where they do make money. Momentum is gathering for more equitable taxes on fossil fuel companies.
Just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit of protesting. Just a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit of protesting.
Bit of impromptu singing there.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to go. Hey, hey, ho, ho, gas and oil have got to
Guarding the foyer.
CCS is the pack of lies. Decarbonise. CCS is the pack of lies.
Welcome Ian. Welcome Andrew.
CCS is the pack of lies.
Thank you for your messages of support.
CCS is the pack of lies. Decarbonise. CCS is the pack of lies. Decarbonise. CCS is the pack of lies.
Our rebels who've been active in the past month at the Asia Pacific Oil and Gas Conference are now here at the Beach Energy AGM. Please watch out for our actions at the tour down under. Beach Energy, whose annual general meeting is here today, is a strong partner of Santos, and of course Santos is sponsoring the tour down under, getting a lot of public recognition from that. However, it's good to know that many of the cyclists, professional cyclists, who are competing in the Tour Down Under are very upset by the fact that Santos is a sponsor. Public members who go to see the race are also disturbed by this and wish that Santos was not a sponsor. Renewable energy companies are now looking to support this kind of sporting event, and they are starting to make good profits, as they should, from a technology which is really needed across the world. If the kind of support that has been given to fossil fuel companies is also afforded to renewable energy companies, how much progress we could make. Our last song, one of our favourites.
Santos puts our rich energy. Climate criminals, fuel my greeds. We'll get in your face, you big disgrace. Waving our banners all over the place. We will
Annual general meeting. I started
we will stop you, criminals. Santos origin ship on shell, your prophet lead us all to hell. We'll get in your face, a big disgrace, spreading your lies all over the place. We will stop you, criminals. We will stop you, criminals. Santos works like rich energy. Time to make you history. Get in your face, you big disgrace. Ruin ourselves all over the place. We will stop you, criminals. We will stop you, criminals. We will stop you, criminals. We will stop you, criminals.
Well, we're signing off now from the Beach Energy Annual General Meeting. We hope they've had a lovely event and we hope they've made significant decisions. We'll wait to see the report of that Annual General Meeting and hope that there's something that we can celebrate from it. Thanks everybody for watching, and I hope you enjoyed our music and our good times here.